I could feel how people were hurting, and then I would give my own energy, my own creativity, my own bits of my soul to those people who I thought if I love them, I can help them do better. And then in my own personal Saturn return around 28, I discovered I'm not going to do that anymore. And I changed everything. I left film and TV, actually even left LA for a brief time to figure out who I was. When I became a mother, I kept having visions of me and my child's past life. I was like, I really need to start controlling this gift of mine because it wasn't such a happy life. And I was devastated. It was really scary. Once I felt like I had mastered it some, which was being able to turn off everything when I need to rest or be able to tune into messages for other people that aren't mine instead of just always being bombarded. And 12 years later, this is what I have been dedicating my life to. Life is about growth and change. So it's okay to re-examine and say, this isn't working anymore. What can I do for myself to maybe reconnect to a part of me that I've ignored?
Now, how do we really step into, especially for people who are feeling stuck? What strategies do you recommend? If you've got someone who it's like, I don't know who I am, what can they do?
You know what? I think it would depend on the personality. So I'll give 3 tips. One tip, one exercise you can do is...
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's conversation. You may have been watching the podcast videos, but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have ever gained value from our videos, from our conversations, it would mean so much to us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now, or even just give us a like. And what that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it allows us to bring in more important guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's conversation. Welcome to the Pathways to Wellbeing podcast. My name's Sophia, of course, with Sacred You, but with us today is the beautiful Holly. Thank you very much, Holly, for joining us today. I'm really interested to get to know you, and I'm really interested to talk about this wonderful topic about you transforming and how you help others. And it's going to be an incredible conversation. So let's just start. Can you just tell us about you and your journey into growth and healing and everything else?
Yeah, I love this. So I'm an intuitive and I have all the clairs, clairvoyant, all that fun stuff. I'm an empath and I can see dead people, but it is my normal. So I never understood that other people couldn't. So when I was a little girl and I talked to a guide every night because I was afraid of the dark, and everyone's, oh, that's an imaginary friend. I was like, no, it's not. But if that's what you want to call it, okay. I would see things like hanging around antiques. My grandparents had a lot of antique furniture, and they gave me like a desk chair when I was young, and I hated that chair. And it had a rose carved into the back in the wood, and I would pile all my clothes to cover the rose, which always inevitably made the chair fall down, because if I didn't have something covering it, I would see faces. And I did not like that. But my journey into discovering and helping other people really is like how I've lived my life, which is, why not? I went to school to be a journalism. I studied history. I've always been a storyteller. I lived and worked in Los Angeles for 18 years in film and television. And I hadn't really done any of my healing. And in that part of my life, it really was about, how can I make you feel better, but by draining myself? Like I could feel how people were hurting, and then I would give my own energy, my own creativity, my own, they're telling me to say life force today, like my own bits of my soul to those people who I thought if I love them, I can help them do better. And then in my own personal Saturn return around 28, I discovered I'm not going to do that anymore.
Mhm.
And who am I now? And what do I want to do now? And I changed everything. I left film and TV, actually, even left LA for a brief time to figure out who I was. And then several years later, got married and had a family. And I really wanted to be a mother. And when I became a mother, I kept having visions of me and my child's past life.
Mhm.
I was like, I really need to start controlling this gift of mine because it wasn't such a happy life. And I was devastated. It was really scary. And then I just started finally consciously trying to control what I can do. And then I did. And then once I felt like I had mastered it some, which was being able to turn off everything when I need to rest or be able to tune into messages for other people that aren't mine instead of just always being bombarded. And then I was like, oh, when I'm 60, I'll tell people I can help them. And literally the next day, someone was like, hey, do you want to share an office with someone? I heard you're an intuitive. And I was like, this is so funny. So I said, sure. And 12 years later, this is what I have been dedicating my life to. So that's like my long, short version.
Interesting journey. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
What an interesting life. So you were born with these gifts. You
Mm-hmm.
realized that other people didn't have them. And how did that come about? How did you actually realize that other people didn't see dead people, other people didn't have these gifts, and that you were, I'm not going to say special, fortunate?
I think everyone in my family has some intuitive ability and was open to spirituality. So it wasn't even awkward in my family. I think I like to say that my maternal grandmother, she could pick out cheap people. She didn't like them. She just like, no, I don't like that person. Cheap meaning even emotionally. Do you know what I mean? They're just not a good person. I honestly figured it out. I got really sick and I had to have a hysterectomy.
Mhm.
And when I woke up, because that's your second chakra, right? Since that was removed, I woke up and the world was silent and I couldn't feel what was my normal. I couldn't feel like warmth around me. I couldn't feel like subtle hints go this way, go that way. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this how other people feel? And then I had to work really hard to, I call rewire. I had a lot of healing around femininity to do and reproduction and blah, 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 past, present, all those lives and whatnot. And it's also your center of creativity. And I'm an author. So there was like just so much for me to process regarding identity.
Mhm.
Who am I? How was I defining myself? And why did I feel like so much so that my body had betrayed me? And I really had to go deep for that.
Yes, especially when that happens, when you have to have a hysterectomy. I hear you on that, and we feel that our bodies have betrayed us. I remember just for me, I grew up with a genetic condition and in a lot of pain. So
Mm,
before I was able to understand the consequences of karma and past life stuff and everything else, and that I chose this body, I actually punished the body because
yes.
it was putting me in a lot of pain. I hear you. I can connect with that when you feel that your body has betrayed you. So thank you.
Yeah, it's a fascinating feeling of helplessness, right?
Mm.
But I too believe that I chose all of this, right? And I had like multiple miscarriages before all of that happened. And I couldn't find a doctor that would listen to me where I was living. And I was like, this something's not right. Something's not right. And until it got bad enough, then they're like, you're right. Something's terribly wrong. Oh, but you can't come see anyone for 3 more months. So I know you're in so much pain, but that's not an emergency for us. It's just mind blowing. So I think that was a lot of wrestling. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Wrestling with the medical world when you know intuitively that something's not right. Yes.
For sure. I've helped people with that as well, though. Like I've had clients who came in and they were young, they were like 30. And I was doing some energy work and I stopped and I was like, you really need to go to a cardiologist this week.
Mhm.
And he's, what are you talking about? I was like, please. I can do some things, and other things I could tell you to go see a cardiologist. He had heart surgery that week.
Mm.
Young man had like a horrible thing. I've seen pictures of clients on vacation and I wait for them to come back and I'm like, "Hey, can you go see an oncologist, please? Can you just go do a breast exam?" And I've caught cancer. And then I caught cancer in another man. I was like, I had back pain and I'm really fit. I was like, I know you're really fit. It's not about fitness. It's something else. And then he had like pancreatic cancer. Sometimes, like, we know and we don't know why we have that in our lives. And it's never really fair. But I guess it's just part of the experience that we choose.
It is when we forget that we actually choose it.
I have a joke about myself. I believe before I was born, I was hanging out with God this time, and we were having a cigarette and a martini. I don't smoke, but I just like the image of it. And I was like, so like this time, okay, wait, hear me out. Hear me out. I want to take care of so much karma. So I would like to know loss on a deep level, like devastating level. So how about we have some sexual violence and I want to lose my home to a fire. Wait, no, but hear me out. I'm not done. And then I want to lose my house to an earthquake. I want to have a starter marriage to a rotten human being who's going to teach me to value myself. Okay, wait, what else can we do? Okay, what else? I don't know. Oh, yeah, miscarriage, I think. And I'm like, I keep saying I'm halfway, although I'm past halfway. I was like, I have no idea what God and I had this conversation before for the second half. What's the second act? I'm so fascinated by these choices that my soul, this soul of mine was like, this is a good idea. This is a really grand idea. Let's do that.
Yeah. The things that we do, I've always said to people, one of these days I'm going to sit down and have a big conversation with myself and go, what on earth were you thinking of before you agreed to sign up to all this stuff in this life? But yes, it brings us so much growth and so
Hmm.
much experience when we look at it in a different way.
Yeah,
All these situations that we go through, and I know you've been through a lot, without them, we wouldn't be who we are.
100%.
Yeah. So anyway. Now you mentioned, if I can ask, Holly, that you're an author. Tell us about your book.
Sure. I have a book. It's called Real Not Perfect: How to Become Your Happy, Authentic Self. And it's what I call almost like an intuitive healing session in a book. It's a little bit self-help, a little bit of spirituality. It's really is a step-by-step guide to help you go from voiceless and confused or lost,
Mhm.
right? Like you've become a role if you gave everything up for career or motherhood or just to support others in your life. It's gentle reminders and tips and tools and exercises, because I believe in homework, to help you reclaim your voice, your passion, and your self worth. So you get to define who you are in this moment in time in your life. Because we just agreed that life is about growth and change. So it's okay to re-examine and say, this isn't working anymore. This isn't as fulfilling anymore. What can I do for myself to maybe open a door back into a part of me that I forgot or reconnect to a part of me that I've ignored?
Mm, thank you. And the book's available through your website, through Amazon.
Yeah. Amazon is absolutely on Amazon and in Australia too. It's there. It's there.
Excellent. But we will be putting the links in the show notes, in the notes below. So for anyone who is watching or listening, do click on the links below and check out Holly's website, everything about Holly and her wonderful book. And I'd love to know more, Holly, because you mentioned about being authentic, right? How do you define authenticity and how has it shaped your life and your whole work?
Yeah, I think people often called me brave,
Mhm.
but when I am not who I am so unhappy. I don't know if any listeners or maybe even yourself, were you ever told you're a bit too much? Or there's
Wow.
a way how people will deliver the word quirky, right? Like it can be a compliment, but a lot of times from straight-laced people, it's derogatory or weird or creative or artistic or open. open-minded, curious, and those are all of the things that I am. I am also an introvert. Being around a lot of people for long periods of time overwhelms me, and I need to retreat. And I have learned that when I honor all of those pieces of me, and even sometimes they can be in conflict because I love being around my friends and I'm loud and boisterous. And if you're watching this, you'll see I talk with my hands and my face is emotive. I'm
Yeah.
expressive and emotional. And I think all of those things are my superpower. I recently was on like LinkedIn because everyone always tells me how you should meet people on LinkedIn, Holly. You can help so many people if but every time I go on there, all I see is all their lies and how fake it is. And it's everything I can't stand.
Yes,
I can't stand people who are really okay with pretending. I really think people who change the world aren't the ones pretending to get along and pretending to blend in and hiding parts of who they are.
yes. And thank you. Thank you for that. How do we get out of that pretending mode? Now, how do we really step into, especially for people who are feeling stuck? What
Mm,
strategies do you recommend? If you've got someone who it's like, I don't know who I am. I don't really know what it means to be authentic. I've got these roles, these jobs, whatever, and I'm caught up in that. What can they do besides coming
yeah.
to the beautiful Holly?
Besides working with me, you know what? I think it would depend on the personality. So I'll give 3 tips. One tip, one exercise you can do is to ask a family member you like for 3 words that describe you, and ask a friend for 3 words that describe you. And then I want you to write 3 words that describe yourself. And I want to see if any of them match or if you are mirroring and becoming what each person needs. If you are bending and twisting to be needed, I'm going to say one of the first things you need to learn how to do is say no. And that is really just because you have no space for who you are.
Mhm.
You've lost yourself in these tasks and being needed because you think being needed gives you value. On some circumstances, if you're going to be like literal, it will. But in who you are is not your job. It's not your output. It's not the number of followers you have. It's none of that. It is that part of your soul that is here on the planet. So that is one way that to do it. Another way to tap back into the person that perhaps you've lost is I want to know when the last time you had a hobby that wasn't monetized. So if there is something that you did as a child that you
Mhm.
haven't as an adult that used to just bring you absolute joy, I would really encourage you to go do it
Mhm.
because it will bring you back into that moment. And it might be hard. Don't judge yourself. Like I still take dance classes and I love it. And I'm always happy. And because I'm bitchy to myself, I'm still like, you're not moving like you moved when you're 20. Of course, I'm 55. Of course I don't. But you're just like, it's still more joyful than anything. And even when I was good, I always wanted to be better. That is fundamentally part of who I am. But I used to give homework to some of my really high powered corporate people, and I would make them go get like clay, Play Doh, like colorful clay. And I was like, go make me a centipede or go make me a pot. Or I would give them a little homework just to get them to play because they were so rigid with themselves that they had even forgotten how to do that. If you are a person with long hair, I will tell you to put pigtails in or braids. It's very hard to be unhappy with pigtails. It's very, very hard. When I get sad or a little blue, I will put pigtails in my hair and it just makes me smile, right? See, you're smiling too because it's just this, it doesn't have to be serious or hard or expensive, right? You just have to go do something. Or one of the easiest things to do is really get out in nature and just play I Spy. So no phone, no music, but really be there and see what catches your attention.
It's so much and so true. We've forgotten as adults, and as a generalization, we've forgotten how to play. We no longer nurture that inner child
Mm,
that's wanting to come out and play. It's, oh no, I don't have time.
yes.
And it's so important to make that time, to prioritize it and stuff. And in your life, Holly, how do you maintain the balance between giving to others and prioritizing your self-care and going out and playing?
I don't believe in balance.
Okay,
I believe in rhythm.
okay. Please explain.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for asking. I believe there are times in my life where my family needs me more, and that's a priority, and that is a choice that I make. There are times when my career, I'm really focused on that. I like to say I used to be type A plus and now I'm A minus, right? I can slow down now. So that is about what is really necessary. And that's being able to have boundaries and saying no, which like loops back to what I said before. But also when you put self-care into your life, and I don't just mean maintenance, and I'm not putting anyone down who teaches like strictly self-care, but who doesn't like a massage or a facial? But that's not what I'm talking about. Self-care feeds your soul. So my family knows that Tuesday and Saturday I dance. I take a class. When I don't go to class, I am grumpy and irritable. I know it's so hard to imagine, but I am. And they would prefer me not to be. So then my family also makes way and creates space for my needs. A lot of women are like, I shouldn't have to explain what I need to my family. I shouldn't have to explain that, but of course you do. I don't know if I'm a mind reader, but you might have to tell me too. And then if I don't write it down, I'll probably forget. Let's be real. So I just think it's really important and empowering to say, yes, this is what I want to do. And it might be a challenge. It might make you uneasy. It might confuse people around you when you say, no, this is my time now, but they'll get used to it. And so will you. And then it's good. So I think when people say balance, they think that life can be equilibrium. And I've never had a moment in my life that is like that. So that's why I prefer rhythm. And if I go too far in one direction or not, I also have a family, a husband for me, who is, you're working too hard. Maybe take a break, or you're expecting too much. Maybe take a break. And I get annoyed and then I listen. But in that way, like it's okay to process and feel what people call negative emotions. It's okay to create a boundary and feel uncomfortable at first. It's okay to be annoyed or angry or disappointed before you're happy, because you have to almost build up a new way of thinking and feeling that allows you to make the space for that rhythm in your life.
Yeah. I like that. I like how you're talking about rhythms rather than trying to make a balance, because a lot of people are always trying to get into balance. I'm too far this, too far that, instead of rather just accepting that life is all about rhythms. There are times for here and there are times for that and there are times for that. It's trying to live in a holistic way and looking after the different parts of your life, but prioritizing yourself in all that, because we know that if we don't prioritize ourselves totally, we can't keep on giving.
You'll be empty.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, self-care is about refueling and recharging, and it's about joy. Like I think I'm not a woman who gets her nails done. Like I'll just paint my own if I like changing colors too often to spend all that money to do that. Is that like a self-care? No, like I think that just is like something that makes me feel good, but it doesn't recharge my soul. I am a big fan of K-dramas, right? And I am a big fan of like culturally things that are Korean. I'm taking a trip to go to Korea and I'm going without my family. and I've done it before. And that's something they actually support because I come back so happy. They're not interested in it. It's okay. It requires a whole other level of okay with being independent, but like doing things that you like by yourself that make you really happy, you're not going to be lonely. But doing things that you don't like to please others and being around people who drain you will make you lonely.
Mhm. Totally agree with that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Now, with your work, let's go into your work and how you help other people.
Mm.
So, how do you help people rewrite their stories, their narratives, and to reclaim their lives, their voices?
It's always so tricky to answer that because it really depends on the person. But when I work with someone, it's the more I look at them, the more or because I can work virtually on the phone or Zoom or whatever, or in person. So the more I am connected to them, the more I like tune into what I call their station, their dial, right? I can tune into their vibration and I can see and experience their emotional truth. And then part of the trick, especially when at a first session, is how much truth can the person handle? Are they aware of what's causing the block? And then if they are, it's much easier to move forward. If they're not, I have to find a way to speak a language so they understand what is going on. If they just know something's wrong, but they can't name it, and I can feel it and name it for them. I have to deliver it in a way that can be received. And then we go into healing and then we bring awareness to the pattern. Like I really love explaining to people who are unhappy at work that there is an emotional dynamic that they haven't healed in their personal life that they're reenacting at work. And until they can like manage that, then things aren't really going to change. So, like, we should finish working out and changing the karma and ending the patterns and healing the spiritual and emotional wound that made where they are okay here instead of just calling in another of the same thing and then move forward from there. The trickiest part when I work with people, I also like to say, and like I make you answer a few questions before you have a session with me. And one of the questions is, how long have you been feeling this way? And that's for two reasons. One reason is sometimes people are completely unaware of how long they've been feeling like numb or lost because they don't want to admit it. Sometimes they've grown so accustomed to it that it will say decades or 5 to 10 years. And they see me for an hour and they're like, fix it in an hour. So I like to tell people it will take more than 1 hour. I'm good, but I'm just a person and there's only so much. And honestly, when we move energy, if you do too much too fast, a lot of people get sick because it's such
Yeah.
a drastic change. And then what happens sometimes is people will make the change and they'll realize they're living without anxiety. And then they will do something to reenact it or recreate it again because they're not used to having peacefulness. And so that's always like an interesting one to work through as well.
So people can come and see you with all sorts of issues.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I don't handle is like I don't handle addiction of any kind. Like that's just not in my wheelhouse. But yeah, I just love, I call them transition points. They can be emotional or physical. They usually go hand in hand. But in that space where you're like, I just don't know, like, why isn't it working? Or I know this isn't working and I want to change. I don't know where to start. I love that stuff because then you are open and willing and it's not a fight.
It's not a fight, yeah. When it makes such a difference when people are really ready and they're wanting to change, but they need some help and some guidance with it. And I hear you on that, is that you can't move energy too much too quickly.
You really can.
Yeah, we can't. I'm the same. I do a lot of breath work. And for me personally, I'd love to, the last couple of days I've been chatting with people, we have got so many layers, exactly, we call ourselves the youngins. We know that we've got so much there, so much suppressed stuff that we have suppressed over many lifetimes. And it would be so good to remove it straight away, all at once, wrap it all up in a ball and throw it out to the universe. But it's not like that.
I know that would be so much nicer though. Sometimes I think also I was for anyone who has done their own healing, like even myself, there are moments where old issues will come back and you're like, oh, I thought I handled that. And I guess it's a zinger for whatever. Again, I like to emphasize what chapter of your life, what is this little slice of time for you? Because especially like when I work with people in the going through the process of divorce, right? It's you're no longer the woman or man, you're not the person you were when you met your partner. You're not who you were that you needed to be to survive the marriage. And you have to be a different person, especially in the States. I'm not sure how divorce works for you, but like the process of getting divorced can be quite troublesome here, right? And it's very emotional and whatnot. So, who you are during the process of divorce is different than the year of crazy you'll go through after you're divorced, and then defining who you are in the next phase. That's a lot of people to go through, a lot of different energy you need to move through each thing. So, that is a very specific example, but you can apply it to many aspects of a life.
Yeah, all different things that we all experience in
Hmm.
everyday life things. And what about you, Holly? How do you stay inspired and motivated in your work, in helping others? What do you do to
I
keep?
have to take breaks, right? That's really important. I have a schedule and I keep to it. I keep my hours the way I need them because when I first started, I was like, what do you need? Like, because I really have a sincere heart that I want to help. But I also realize that I need some downtime, right? I need things that to do my own self-care. Again, my dancing, my little K dramas, just the things that bring me joy. And I am also a creative person, an author. So if I don't leave time for that part of me, then I get sad.
Yes,
So that's been an interesting learning curve. And depending on the year and the clientele and the issues, and honestly, the vibration on the planet, because the past few years have been rough energetically on this planet. So I have to like manage that because every time there's like a natural disaster, my body feels panic. And it takes me quite a lot of work to disengage from it.
yes, it's all true. We do really do have to look after ourselves. We really do, because we can't keep on giving. So, Holly, in wrapping up our conversation, I'd love to know if you could give our listeners just one piece of advice, one practice or a mindset shift that has significantly impacted your well-being. What would that be?
I love this. I'm going to 100% express this with my whole heart and my sarcastic sense of humor. Because you can't take yourself too seriously. But life is too short to wear uncomfortable bras or be in uncomfortable relationships.
So true. So very true. Love it. Life is too short. And
Yep.
all the women out there, I hope you're wearing comfortable bras, because if you're not, get rid of it, because life is too short to experience that.
No one likes that pinch. Come on. We all know we do it. It's all, I know you have one in your drawer. Everyone has one in their drawer. Let it go. Get a new one.
Anyway, thank you. Thank you. And how do you believe in like building stronger connections, stronger relationships, whether it's with others or with nature or ourselves? How can that help us enhance our whole well-being and even the collective as well?
It's really interesting. I think when you feel safe, there's nothing you can't do. And so if you have stronger or more intimate relationships that are built about in honesty, I mean about you have to be honest with yourself. That's one of the first things I do with people when I talk about we're going to heal their heart. And then I use that. HEART as an acronym. And the first step is always being honest, and then emotionally excavating what's
Mhm,
going on, often teaching people how to sink into their own vulnerability,
mhm,
which creates better connection,
mhm,
right? We're not in that false place of, we'll go back to LinkedIn, right? No. And then we get to amend or mend relationships, amend how we see ourselves. Again, like those three words you use to define yourself.
mhm,
You get to reclaim who you are on your terms. And then people can meet you where you are instead of always giving. And then you get to triumph and have the life you dream of.
mm. I like that. I'm just going to write it down and stuff. So it's HEART. Thank you.
Of course.
Thing
I
was
can send you a little graphic. I made one.
so just tell us again while we're here for everyone who's listening, if you didn't get to write it down now. So what's the H?
H is you have to get honest.
Honest.
And you can give yourself time to get honest. Honesty can be hard.
Mhm.
So be nice. HE is emotionally excavate.
Yes. Which can be challenging, but you feel so much better when you,
Yeah. You can get through any emotion.
yes.
You can do it. You might not enjoy it, but you'll be happier on the other end because what you're doing isn't working. And then R is you get to reclaim. Wait, did I do the A? Amend. Yeah. R is reclaim.
And the
And
A,
then T is triumph. Oh, A is amend.
amend. That's right. Yes. Amend everything. Love that. Thank you so
Mm-hmm.
very, very much. Thank you for that. Love it. We'll definitely be going back to listening this for this podcast, and for everyone who is listening or watching, definitely do recommend that you rewatch it and re-listen and take notes of your heart. And Holly, what's a simple question that we can ask ourselves, or even a powerful question that we can all ask ourselves daily to help us align to our path?
I think it's really interesting to ask yourself, how do I feel today? And then when you answer that, you'll know if you're heading in a good direction or bad.
Mhm.
It's a good first step, because I think part of what leads to people burning out and numbness is denying their emotional truth.
Yes. Got to be true to ourselves to
Mm.
really connect that, because otherwise, whatever we're doing won't work, won't last if we're not following our truth. And that is including in relationships and everything else. You can be within a relationship with someone that you love really dearly, but it's still not right for you.
It's a very mature thought. That's really hard for many people. So,
Many people. But if you keep denying that truth, we're not aligning ourselves to our heart and our path of well-being.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Before we say farewell on today's conversation, Holly, is there any other questions that I could have asked you? Is there anything else that you would like to share?
No, but I loved your insights and your curiosity and your energy. So I'm just like so grateful to have had this conversation with you. So thank you.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. I really have. And again, for everyone who is listening or watching our podcast today, please click on those links below and reach out to Holly, because you never know that with a conversation just with Holly on where that can lead you, especially if you're feeling stuck in your life or just need any guidance on anything. Do reach out to Holly. Thank you, Holly. It's been a joy.
Thank you.
Been a wonder. Wow, what a wonderful conversation that we've just had with Holly. A woman who is a shining example of what happens when you live your true, authentic life, and a life that is in rhythm with everything else that the world provides. If you would like to know more on how you can get back in touch with your authenticity, or if you have any issues that you would like some guidance with, do reach out to Holly on the links below. If you enjoyed today's conversation, today's podcast, please show your support by hitting that subscribe button, giving us a like, or sharing this episode with someone else who may benefit. And don't forget, you can explore more resources for personal growth and connection offered by Sacred You at www.sacredu, that's the letter U. Now is your time to step into your authenticity and nurture your heart, to be honest with yourself, to excavate all those suppressed emotions, to amend any relationships, especially the ones with ourselves, to reclaim our life, and to triumph. I love that, what Holly said. So wherever you are, I do hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Have a beautiful day, and may you have a wonderful life on your path to well-being. We'll see you next time.